You're just wasting your time on useless hobbies. My mother's words still echo in my ears, sharp and dismissive, even now, as I stand before a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, a creation of my own hands. That cutting phrase, a constant companion throughout my life, was meant to diminish, to deter, to pull me back into the conventional path she'd laid out. But instead, it became a silent challenge, a burning fuel. It was the backdrop to every brushstroke, every late night spent refining my vision, every solitary moment I poured into proving that passion isn't a waste, it's a profound purpose. How many of us have heard those discouraging words meant to shrink our dreams, only to find they ignite an even fiercer fire within? If you believe in chasing your passion, no matter what, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel to follow incredible journeys of defiance and triumph. I'm Cassidy, an artist, forged in the unexpected crucible of a traditional business family. From the moment I could hold a crayon, my world was a canvas, my mind a kaleidoscope of colors and forms. Yet my family, steeped in generations of financial enterprises, saw my artistic inclination not as a talent to be nurtured, but as a peculiar, impractical diversion. For them, art was a hobby, a pleasant pastime, certainly not a respectable career path. They envisioned me in boardrooms, not studios, discussing market trends, not brushstrokes. My life became an ongoing, silent battle, a relentless effort to validate my chosen path against the weight of their expectations. Every single day was a quiet rebellion, a determined step towards proving that my unique vision had a place, a value, a voice that deserved to be heard regardless of their skepticism. And so began the relentless tug-of-war between expectation and aspiration, a struggle that would define my earliest years and lay the groundwork for the ultimate clash to come. From my earliest memories, my world was vibrant, painted in hues and textures that only I seemed to fully appreciate. While other kids played with dolls or action figures, I was lost in sketchbooks filling pages with fantastical creatures and breathtaking landscapes. But this innate passion, instead of being celebrated, was met with a consistent, chilling indifference from my mother, Eleanor. "Cassidy, that's nice," she'd say, her voice devoid of genuine interest, as she'd quickly usher me towards a textbook on economics or a spreadsheet. My father, Robert, was equally dismissive, though his method was more direct. He'd often say, "Art is a pastime, not a profession. Focus on something that actually puts food on the table, something stable." These words, seemingly benign, felt like tiny darts piercing my budding dreams. I yearned for their approval, for just one moment of genuine interest in the worlds I created. I remember spending weeks on a detailed painting of our family garden, a vibrant riot of color and light. I presented it to my mother, my heart pounding with hope. She glanced at it, nodded perfunctorily, and then placed it face down on a stack of newspapers. It wasn't malice, just a profound lack of understanding, a quiet dismissal that stung far more than any harsh words could. My artistic achievements, no matter how small, were consistently downplayed or outright ignored. When I won a local art competition in middle school, my parents barely acknowledged it, instead asking if I'd finished my math homework. The message was clear. My art was a frivolous distraction from the real education they had planned for me. This constant invalidation festered, transforming my childhood joy into a secret, almost clandestine activity. I learned to hide my sketchbooks to draw late into the night under the covers with a flashlight, my imagination, my only true companion. My room became my sanctuary, the only place where my artistic soul could breathe freely. During family gatherings, conversations always revolved around business investments and market trends. When I tried to interject with a story about a new technique I'd learned, or an artist who inspired me, I was met with blank stares or a gentle yet firm redirection back to sensible topics. I felt like an alien in my own home, speaking a language no one else understood, let alone appreciated. My parents went further than just dismissal. They actively tried to steer me away from art. High school was a relentless push towards advanced placement economics and calculus, while art classes were deemed electives for fun and discouraged. I had to fight to even take a single art elective, arguing my case with a passion that surprised even myself. I remember one particularly painful instance when I applied to an art summer program. My father intercepted the application, tearing it up right in front of me, declaring, "We're not wasting money on fairy tales, Cassidy. You're going to that business seminar instead." The raw injustice of it burned, but I swallowed my tears, determined that one day I would prove him wrong. This systematic suppression pushed me to become fiercely independent in my artistic pursuit. I devoured art books from the library, watched countless online tutorials, and spent every spare penny on art supplies I had to hide from my family. I sought out local art communities, finding solace and mentorship from artists who saw value in my passion. I started selling small sketches online, quietly building a modest following, a testament to the fact that my art did resonate with others, even if it didn't resonate with my own family. The unfairness of it all fueled my resolve. While my peers had supportive parents attending their school plays or sports games, I was a solitary figure, nurturing my artistic dreams in the shadows, constantly battling the feeling that I was inherently disappointing the very people who were supposed to uplift me. The constant feeling of being undervalued, of my true self, being unseen, built up a deep well of frustration and quiet defiance within me. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was determined. Determined to prove that my path, though different, was valid, valuable, and ultimately my own. This silent struggle would soon be challenged by an unexpected turn of events, a breakthrough that would force my art and my life into the blinding spotlight. Years of secret dedication, of burning the midnight oil, of pouring my soul onto canvas, slowly began to pay off. My online art presence, once a clandestine corner of the internet, started to garner attention. I'd share my work piece by painstaking piece, and slowly, organically, people outside my immediate dismissive circle began to see what my family couldn't or wouldn't. The comments, the shares, the quiet messages of appreciation. They were tiny validations, building blocks against the years of doubt. My art wasn't just a hobby. It was resonating, speaking to strangers in ways it never could, to those closest to me. Then came Echoes of Silence, a piece I poured every ounce of my frustration, my longing for recognition, my quiet defiance into. It was a sprawling, intense, mixed media piece, abstract, yet deeply personal, capturing the feeling of being unheard of, trying to create beauty in a world that insisted on logic and finance. I spent months on it, meticulously layering textures, experimenting with colors that pulsed with raw emotion. When I finally posted it online, I expected the usual trickle of likes and comments. What happened next was anything but usual. The painting went viral, not just within my small online community, but it exploded across art forums, social media feeds, and niche art blogs. People were captivated by its raw emotion, its intricate details, its universal theme of being misunderstood. My inbox was flooded with messages, some offering praise, others wanting to know the story behind the piece. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. For the first time, my art was undeniably seen. Among the deluge of messages, one stood out. It was from a name I recognized instantly, a titan in the art world, Ms. Elizabeth Albright. She was a legendary art collector and curator known for her impeccable taste and her knack for discovering groundbreaking new talent. Her email was direct, elegant, and utterly surreal. She wanted to feature Echoes of Silence in her renowned gallery, the Albright Collection, a place I'd only ever dreamed of visiting, let alone exhibiting in. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst through my chest. This wasn't just recognition. This was validation on a scale I couldn't have imagined. It was the universe affirming every single hidden brushstroke, every silent tear, every defiant moment. I was soaring on top of the world. My art was finally going to be presented on a legitimate stage in a prestigious setting. I could almost hear the quiet hum of vindication. But life, as it always does, had a way of adding its own cruel, ironic twists. Just as I was deep in preparations for the exhibition, a quiet, almost imperceptible shift began in my parents' household. My father, Robert, who usually exuded an aura of impenetrable financial success, seemed different, stressed, distant. His phone calls were more frequent, his voice lower, more hushed. My mother, Eleanor, began to look perpetually worried, her usual composed demeanor replaced by a subtle tremor of anxiety. I overheard hushed conversations about liquidity issues, bad investments, and potential investors. It became clear that their business, the very foundation they had tried to force me into, was teetering on the brink of significant financial trouble. They were desperate, scrambling to find new funding, new partnerships, anything to keep their empire from crumbling. The irony was palpable, a bitter taste in my mouth. For years, they had dismissed my passion as frivolous, as something that would never put food on the table. Yet now their own table was wobbling, their meticulously built financial security under threat. I watched from a distance, a strange mix of pity and detached observation. I had built my own path, silent and against the current, while theirs, the one they insisted was the only sensible way, was crumbling. And then the bombshell dropped. My father approached me, something he rarely did outside of family obligations, his usual stern face etched with an unfamiliar vulnerability. "Cassidy," he began, his voice strained, "we have an important business function coming up. A potential investor, a very significant one, will be there. We need you to come. It's vital for the family." He didn't mention art. He didn't acknowledge my recent success. He just needed me, the daughter who was supposed to be a business prodigy, to be present for his professional rescue mission. The date of his important business function settled heavily in my mind. It was the exact same day as the grand opening of my exhibition at the Albright Collection. The universe, it seemed, had a darkly comedic sense of timing. My moment of triumph, the culmination of years of quiet rebellion, was set to collide head-on with my family's desperate plea for salvation, binding us together in a twisted, unavoidable intersection of fate. The stage was set, a powder keg of unresolved emotions and clashing ambitions ready to ignite on a single fateful day. The air in the Albright Collection that evening crackled with a nervous energy. My heart, a frantic hummingbird in my chest, mirrored the buzzing anticipation of the crowd. This was it. Years of quiet dedication, of being dismissed and misunderstood, all culminating in this single monumental moment. My painting, Echoes of Silence, hung majestically bathed in soft spotlights, its textures and colors speaking volumes about my journey. Ms. Elizabeth Albright, elegant and serene, stood by my side, introducing me to esteemed collectors and critics. Her words of praise, a balm to wounds I hadn't even realized were still aching. I felt seen, validated, truly alive. My partner Alex was there too, his hand a comforting presence on my lower back, his eyes beaming with quiet pride. Just as I was about to give a brief, heartfelt speech, a sudden commotion erupted near the gallery entrance. Heads turned, whispers spread, and a collective hush fell over the room. My stomach clenched as I saw them, my parents Eleanor and Robert, striding purposefully into the gallery, flanked by a group of serious-looking men in suits. The very investors my father had been so desperate to impress. They hadn't come to support me. They had come because the important business function had seemingly merged with my grand opening, turning my triumphant moment into a bizarre, unwelcome crossover event. My father's eyes, usually sharp and calculating, scanned the room, landing on me, and then on Echoes of Silence. A flicker of recognition, then a storm of anger contorted his face. He recognized the painting. He knew it was the viral sensation, the one that had been making waves in the art world he so disdained. His jaw tightened, and he marched directly towards me, his business partners trailing awkwardly behind him. "Cassidy!" His voice, usually controlled, was laced with barely suppressed fury, loud enough to cut through the elegant murmur of the gallery. "What is the meaning of this? You told me you were busy with an event. This is your event. A painting that's making a mockery of our family name." The color drained from my face. My hand flew to my mouth, a gasp escaping my lips. The sophisticated crowd moments ago, admiring my work, now stared transfixed by the unfolding family drama. Ms. Albright, usually unflappable, looked visibly uncomfortable. Alex tightened his grip on my hand, a silent anchor. My mother, Eleanor, stepped forward, her voice a hissed whisper, though audible in the stunned silence. "Robert, not here. Please." But her plea was futile. My father was beyond reasoning. The stress of his failing business combined with the perceived humiliation of his daughter's artistic success, a success he had always scorned, had pushed him over the edge. He pointed a shaking finger at echoes of silence. "This is it, isn't it? The masterpiece that's wasting your time. Look at it." He scoffed, gesturing wildly at the intricate layers. "It's childish, meaningless. You're a disgrace, Cassidy. A dreamer wasting your life on paint and canvas while your family's legacy is at stake." His voice rose, tinged with a desperate public self-pity. "You are an irresponsible, selfish child who only knows how to chase whimsical nonsense. This art has no real value. You bring shame upon our name, and you've embarrassed me in front of my most crucial business associates." Each word was a hammer blow shattering the fragile triumph I had felt. Shame, hot and consuming, washed over me. Not shame for my art, but shame for him. For his public display of disdain, for his inability to see past his own narrow vision. The air thickened with his accusations suffocating me. I could feel the eyes of every person in that gallery on me, on my parents, on the spectacle of my deepest wound being flayed open for public consumption. This wasn't just criticism. This was a complete, brutal disavowal of my entire being broadcast to an audience that moments ago had celebrated me. My vision blurred. The years of quiet dismissal of being told my passion was worthless coalesced into one overwhelming moment of public agony. My mind reeled back to every stolen hour I'd spent drawing, every tear I'd shed in secret, every ounce of effort I'd poured into proving them wrong. And now here it was, the ultimate confirmation of their contempt, delivered with venomous precision in the very space meant to celebrate my hard-won victory. My knees felt weak, threatening to buckle under the weight of his words. The humiliation was unbearable, a burning brand seared onto my soul. This wasn't just about art anymore. It was about my worth as a person, as a daughter, as an individual. He had stripped me bare, leaving me exposed and raw. I looked at my painting, the one he called meaningless, and then back at his contorted face, a sudden, searing clarity cutting through the haze of pain. The despair, the shame, the profound sense of betrayal. It pushed me to a precipice. I had spent my entire life trying to earn their love and respect, to show them I could be successful on my own terms. But at this moment, I realized the futility of it all. His words meant to crush me. Instead, ignited something fierce and unyielding deep within. The pain was still there, sharp and relentless, but beneath it, a new emotion began to simmer, a cold, hard resolve. I had reached my limit. With the last echo of his scorn ringing in my ears, a profound shift occurred, setting the stage for a decision that would redefine my life and the fractured bonds of my family. The gallery was a blur. My father's harsh words, still ringing in my ears, were like venom. I felt every single eye on me, 1,000 invisible needles pricking my skin. The vibrant colors of my painting moments ago, a source of immense pride, now seemed to mock me, reflecting the public humiliation I felt. I wanted to disappear, to vanish into the polished floors of the gallery. My chest felt tight, my breath shallow. It was too much. The culmination of a lifetime of disapproval had just exploded in the most public way imaginable. Alex. My partner sensed my unraveling. He didn't say a word, just gently guided me away from the stunned crowd, past the murmuring onlookers, and out a discreet side exit. We found ourselves in a quiet, secluded courtyard behind the gallery, bathed in the cool night air. The sudden silence after the cacophony of my father's accusations was deafening. I leaned against a cold stone bench, my legs weak, the adrenaline slowly draining from my body, leaving me hollow and trembling. Tears, hot and angry, streamed down my face. Years of suppressed emotions, of swallowing insults and trying to prove myself worthy, burst forth. He actually said that. I choked out the words, catching in my throat. He called my art meaningless in front of everyone. He thinks I'm a disgrace. The pain was so raw, so profound, it felt physical. It wasn't just his words. It was the entire weight of my past, the echoes of every dismissive comment, every rejected dream crashing down on me. Alex sat beside me, wrapping an arm around my trembling shoulders. He didn't offer platitudes or try to minimize my pain. Instead, he just held me, letting me cry, letting the storm rage. When my sobs finally subsided, replaced by ragged breaths, he spoke, his voice gentle but firm. Cassidy. He began, his thumb tracing patterns on my arm. Look at me. I reluctantly met his gaze, my eyes swollen and red. What you just experienced back there. That was his fear talking, not your truth. He's drowning, and he's lashing out. He paused, letting his words sink in. Remember all those nights you stayed up painting in secret? Remember when you sold your first piece, that little landscape you did for Sarah? Remember how you taught yourself digital art, how you reached out to new communities, how you found your voice when no one else was listening? He squeezed my hand. You did all of that without their approval. You built this. This, he emphasized, gesturing vaguely back towards the gallery, is yours. It's not a joke. It's not meaningless. It's powerful. And it touched people, Cassidy. It touched Ms. Albright, one of the most respected figures in the art world. It touched countless strangers online, and it touches me every single day. His words, simple yet profound, began to cut through the fog of humiliation. He wasn't trying to fix me. He was reminding me of who I already was. He was reminding me of my strength, my resilience, the silent battles I had already won to even get to this point. I looked back at the gallery, at the light spilling from its grand entrance. My painting was still in there. It hadn't vanished because of my father's words. It stood strong, a testament to my conviction. In that quiet courtyard under the vast, indifferent sky, a profound realization washed over me. For so long, I had chased their acceptance unconsciously, allowing their dismissal to define a part of my identity. Their no had been a constant motivator, a push to prove them wrong. But now, seeing my father's desperation, his public unraveling, it was clear their approval would never truly be mine to earn, because their vision was too narrow to encompass my world. I didn't need them to validate my art or my life. My art was my voice, my purpose, my very essence. It was already enough. I was already enough. The tears had stopped. A sense of calm, resolute, and unwavering settled over me. The pain of the humiliation was still a dull ache, but it no longer consumed me. It had served its purpose, pushing me past a breaking point and into a space of absolute clarity. I had built my own foundation, brick by artistic brick, and it was solid. I would no longer allow their outdated expectations or their desperate financial struggles to dictate my path. The choice was stark clear and unyielding. I would choose myself. I would choose my art. I would choose the life I had so fiercely fought to create. I stood up, my gaze firm, my shoulders squared. "You're right," I said to Alex, my voice steady, devoid of the earlier tremor. "This is my path, and I'm not letting anyone, especially not them, take it from me." The decision was made not out of anger, but out of a profound self-affirming conviction. With this newfound clarity and unshakable resolve, I was ready to face the world and my family on my own terms, ready to truly embody the life I had chosen. Stepping back into the main gallery felt like walking onto a stage. The murmurs died down again as I re-entered, my head held high, my gaze locked on my father. He stood there flanked by his stunned potential investors, his face a mask of anger and confusion. This was it. No more hiding, no more whispered apologies for my existence. I walked directly to the microphone set up for my artist's speech. Miss Albright, sensing the shift, quietly stepped aside, giving me the floor. My voice, usually soft, resonated with newfound strength. "Good evening, everyone." I began, my eyes sweeping across the faces in the room, lingering for a moment on my parents. Tonight, my painting, Echoes of Silence, is being exhibited. It's a piece that speaks to the journey of finding one's voice, especially when that voice has been suppressed by those who claim to know what's best for you. I paused, letting the implication hang in the air, then turned my full attention to my father. For years, I was told my art was a waste of time, a useless hobby, and that I was irresponsible for pursuing it. I was pressured to abandon my passion for a path. I never chose a path in the very business now facing significant challenges. His face flushed, and I could see his partners exchanging uncomfortable glances. "Today," I continued, my voice firm, "I stand here not as the dutiful daughter fulfilling an inherited obligation, but as Cassidy the artist. And as Cassidy the artist, I must unequivocally state that I will not allow anyone, not even my own family, to define my path or my worth." My gaze hardened, reflecting the resolve that had solidified within me. "Therefore, I am publicly declining any and all future involvement in the family business and any potential partnerships that seek to leverage my presence for their financial gain." The words hung heavy, direct, and undeniable. My father reeled back visibly, shocked, his face paling as the gravity of my statement sunk in. His business associates, who had moments ago been considering a lucrative deal, now looked at him with skepticism, seeing a man whose own daughter publicly disavowed him in front of them. The tension in the room became unbearable for him. He stammered, trying to regain composure, but it was too late. His authority, his carefully constructed facade of control, had shattered. The investors, sensing the profound dysfunction and the potential instability, began to quietly excuse themselves, their faces grim. The deal, the lifeline he desperately needed, was slipping through his fingers, publicly, irrevocably. My mother, Eleanor, stood by, her face a mixture of mortification and silent despair, unable to intervene. The immediate aftermath was a stunned silence, followed by a ripple of murmurs, not of judgment towards me, but of quiet awe and understanding. There was a palpable sense of justice, a release of tension. The years of quiet suffering, the public shaming, had finally found their counterpoint in a decisive public stand. I hadn't just protected my art, I had reclaimed my entire identity. The satisfaction, though tinged with sadness, was profound. It was a clear, unambiguous statement I was no longer a pawn in their game. I was the architect of my own destiny. And so, as the dust settled on that explosive night, a new chapter began, one where the echoes of silence transformed into the resounding declaration of my true self and the challenging, yet ultimately liberating consequences that followed. That night at the gallery was a turning point, not just for my art, but for my entire existence. The public confrontation, though deeply painful in the moment, was ultimately liberating. It ripped away the last vestiges of my unconscious need for their approval, allowing me to fully step into my own power. In the weeks and months that followed, my artistic career blossomed. Echoes of Silence became a landmark piece, opening doors to new exhibitions, prestigious commissions, and exciting collaborations with artists I deeply admired. The world of art, which my family had once dismissed as trivial, embraced me with open arms and genuine respect. My relationship with my parents, particularly my father, remained complex and strained. There were no apologies, no grand reconciliations, but I found a profound peace in that distance. I finally understood that their inability to accept my path was their burden, not mine. I no longer carried the heavy weight of their expectations or the constant ache of their disapproval. I was truly free. Free to create, free to live authentically, free to define success on my own terms. My life became a vibrant canvas painted with purpose and passion. I built a fulfilling career, surrounded myself with people who cherished and respected me for who I was, and found a deep abiding happiness in living true to my inner self. My story, I hope, serves as a powerful reminder. Never let anyone dim the unique light of your passion. Your true worth isn't measured by external validation or adherence to conventional paths. It's forged in the courage to pursue your unique calling, to set healthy boundaries, and to fiercely honor the authentic person you are meant to be. If there's a dream burning within you, don't let anyone's skepticism extinguish it. Be brave enough to walk your own path, even if you feel like you're walking it alone at first. Do you have a story about defying expectations to follow your own unique path? Share it in the comments below. I genuinely love to hear it. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more journeys of resilience, triumph, and self-discovery.